Welcome back, and thank you for tuning into Midnight Affairs Tales. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you are watching from right now. Let us know in the comments. Now let's dive into today's story, Chapter 1. The call. The voicemail came at 2:17 a.m. Lucas stared at the screen, the glow from his phone cutting through the darkness of his bedroom. No ID. Just a voicemail. He played it. "You're just a vet, Lucas. Stop calling. Stop showing up. This life isn't yours anymore." Riley's voice was sharp, distant, like she was reading a line she'd rehearsed. Then silence. Lucas didn't move, didn't blink. Just a vet? She knew better. Knew exactly who he was before the white coat, before the small-town clinic, before the routine of broken dogs and bleeding cats. Lucas Merritt had once been trained to dismantle weapons blindfolded, to lie without flinching, to disappear without a trace. He was CIA, off-grid for 10 years, embedded in hostile regimes, trusted with secrets presidents didn't even read. But Riley? She thought he was harmless. Lucas placed the phone down slowly. Outside, rain tapped against the windows in rhythm. In the hallway, a frame hung crooked, her doing. The little things she didn't fix anymore. He walked to the basement. Behind a cabinet, hidden behind drywall, was a black case. Locked. Sealed. Untouched in 7 years. He entered the code. Click. Inside, a hard drive, a burner phone, an encrypted laptop, a Glock he never used, and a photo. Him and Riley. Back when she said she loved him. Lucas stared at it for a long time, then tore it in half. "She doesn't know what she started," he muttered. His fingers hovered over the laptop. He powered it on. Let her think she won. Let her laugh. Let her call him just a vet. How do you bury someone trained to come back from the dead? Wait. I need to tell you something important. Have you ever realized that you keep watching my videos but haven't subscribed yet? This video has reached this point, which means you're enjoying it. So why not subscribe? I have a big goal, 5,000 subscribers, and you can help me reach it. Think about it. If you don't subscribe now, you might miss my next big video. This is the moment. Hit that subscribe button now. Do it now. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss out. I know you'll do it. And when we hit 5,000 subscribers, I have a special surprise for you. Now, let's continue story. 3 days later, Lucas stood outside the Mariston, Phoenix's luxury rooftop bar. Cold breeze. Expensive laughter. Fake smiles. Riley was inside. He adjusted the collar on his jacket and walked through the glass doors, unnoticed. The place smelled of money and cologne. The kind of place where deals were signed over champagne. There she was laughing. Hand on Brent Halvorson's arm. The same arm she used to trace circles on his chest before falling asleep. Brent looked smug. He always did. Tall, polished, white veneers that looked like they were sponsored. CEO of Halvorson Capital. No military record. No scars. Lucas stayed in the shadows. Observed. Brent leaned close to Riley, whispered something. She laughed, tilted her head the same way she used to when she pretended to care. A waiter passed by. Lucas slid him 100. "Champagne to the lady in the red dress," he said quietly. Moments later, Riley received it. She looked around, puzzled. Lucas stepped into the light just enough for her to see him. Their eyes met. Riley's smile froze. He raised his glass in a silent toast, held it for 2 seconds, then walked away. No confrontation, no drama, just presence. Let her wonder what he knows. Outside, Lucas lit a cigarette. He didn't smoke, but the gesture helped him blend in. Across the street, Marla sat in a parked car, laptop open. "She saw you," she said through the earpiece. "I wanted her to. You ready to dig in?" Lucas watched the city skyline like a man measuring targets. "Let's bring the house down," he said. The change started small. Riley stopped calling, stopped sending the obligatory "hope you're okay" texts. Brent got more confident, bolder in public, louder at events. He'd already started parading her like a trophy. Lucas played along, quiet, distant, heartbroken. Even the staff at his clinic noticed. He let rumors grow. "You doing okay, Doc?" his assistant Jenna asked one morning. Lucas smiled weakly. Trying. He knew exactly what he was doing. Each week, he gathered intel. Marla tracked phone records. Jax, Lucas' newest recruit, cracked into Brent's corporate server, hunting for red flags. And the red flags were everywhere. Shell companies registered to fake addresses. Properties bought through trust Riley conveniently managed. Political donations rerouted through fake nonprofits. All under Halvorson Capital. Lucas printed everything. Organized it by timeline, by name, by scandal. There was a bigger play here. Cheating was just the surface. He visited Riley's yoga studio one afternoon. She wasn't there. But the receptionist smiled politely. She's out with her fiancé. Said something about a downtown property deal. Fiancé. Lucas didn't flinch. She mentioned you still text her, the woman added, lowering her voice. Said she felt bad. Lucas nodded like it hurt. I just want her to be happy. He walked out with a fake smile. That night, he added a new page to the file, Public Deception Strategy. Beneath it, a photo of Riley and Brent at a city planning meeting, hands clasped, talking about community investments. Lucas circled it with a red marker. She doesn't just want me gone, he whispered. She wants to erase me. He looked at the camera footage, the documents, the timelines, and smiled. They think I'm weak. Let's make that their first mistake. Lucas sat alone at his kitchen table, an empty coffee mug beside him, laptop open. Code scrolled across the screen. Jax was live from a secure tunnel. You're not gonna believe what I found, Jax said, voice crackling through the audio feed. Brent's team is laundering money through a nonprofit tied to opioid treatment centers. Lucas leaned in. How deep? Over $2.8 million since 2021. They're inflating patient numbers, billing Medicaid for people that don't exist. Riley signed off on several of the audits. Lucas didn't flinch, but his grip tightened on the mug. Send me everything. A soft chime rang through his earpiece. Marla was patching through live GPS data from Riley's phone. She's heading to a property outside the city. Private lot. Registered under a holding company Brent controls. Lucas stood up. Keep eyes on her. I'll follow from a distance. 2 hours later, Lucas crouched behind a thicket of trees outside a luxury cabin overlooking the desert ridge. He watched through a drone feed. Riley and Brent inside, drinking wine, laughing over a stack of blueprints. He thinks this land is the future, Riley said, twirling her hair. He's gonna build a wellness retreat. Zen and high profit margins. Lucas zoomed in on the documents. City seal. Land redevelopment plan. Council member signatures. All forged. Print those frames, Lucas said into his mic. We just caught them mid-crime. You gonna confront her? Marla asked. No, Lucas said calmly. She needs to believe she's untouchable. Let her keep smiling. He watched as Brent leaned in and kissed her. Riley laughed. Let them think they're building an empire. I'm just making sure it's built on evidence. The door to Marla's apartment creaked open just after midnight. She looked up from her desk, gun already drawn. Lucas stepped into the light. Still paranoid. Still alive, she shot back. What did you get? He dropped the flash drive onto her keyboard. Blueprints, council names, financial fraud. Brent's going to burn. But I need a legal thread to pull, one that ties this to state or federal charges. Something they can't sweep under the rug. Marla plugged it in. Let me guess, you want to hit him through the Fraud Protection Act? Lucas nodded. Or RICO. I want them both treated like a criminal enterprise. Marla raised a brow. That means you'll have to leak part of it early. Get them nervous. Force them to move money, close accounts. We follow the trail. Exactly, Lucas said. We bait them into exposing themselves. She scanned the files. They've got people. Friends in high places. So do I, Lucas replied coldly. They just forgot. Marla paused. You're playing this slow. Lucas looked out her window. The city lights flickered like embers. They killed the version of me that would have screamed. Now I whisper and I let them come closer. She exhaled. You're not doing this for her anymore, are you? Lucas met her eyes. I'm doing it for every life they stepped on. Lucas walked into the clinic with blood on his sleeve, just a scratch from a rescue dog, but enough to keep up the distracted and heartbroken routine. Rough night? Jenna asked. Lucas forced a weary laugh. You could say that. He walked into the back office and shut the door. Behind a false panel in his filing cabinet was a growing archive. Photos, audio, signed permits, and now video footage. He sat down, put on his headset, and watched the cabin footage again. He focused on Riley, her posture, her tone. She wasn't a prisoner in this game. She was an architect. Jax pinged in. We've got movement. Brent's company just shifted $600,000 from the development fund to his shell account. They're getting nervous, Lucas muttered. Perfect. Want me to trigger the first leak? Not yet. Let them breathe. Let them plan. He opened a local news site. Front page, City approves Zen Life Retreat, headed by Brent Halvorsen and Riley Merritt. She kept his name. The audacity. Lucas stood up, breathing slow. That night, he placed a call to an old friend, Martin Greaves, a journalist with a conscience and nothing to lose. I have a story, Lucas said. Tell me it's not just about cheating. It's about fraud, murder cover-ups, political bribery, and federal-level corruption. A pause. All right, Greaves said. Let's burn it all. Lucas smiled, cold and sure. The trap was set. Now they just had to walk in, thinking they owned the place. The rain hadn't stopped in 2 days. Lucas liked it that way. It blurred shadows, muffled sound, and washed away footprints, useful for someone who didn't want to be seen. He sat inside his black SUV, parked across from the sleek office building housing Halvorsen Capital. 4th floor. Corner window. Riley's new workspace. Through his long lens camera, Lucas watched her pour coffee into a sleek mug, smile at it in turn, then sit down beside Brent. The two leaned over a laptop, reviewing numbers. Laughing. Comfortable. Careless. Jax's voice came through his earpiece. Got another email dump. Someone named Gregory Phelps is mentioned in over 50 flagged threats. That name mean anything? Lucas's eyes sharpened. He's city zoning board. If he's on their payroll, they're laundering through public contracts. That's the vibe. Want me to dig? Fast and deep. Lucas snapped photos of every face that entered the office. A young woman handed Brent a manila envelope. Brent didn't even try to hide it, tucked it under his arm like it meant nothing. Lucas clicked the shutter twice. Behind him, a car honked as it passed. The streets were slick, reflecting streetlights like fireflies. It reminded him of ops in Eastern Europe, only back then, the people he watched wore uniforms. These were tailored suits. He stared at the screen a moment longer. Then he whispered, almost to himself, they forgot who I was. I never did. Back at his clinic that night, he pinned new printouts to the wall. Circles. Connections. Faces. Everything was starting to link. Fraud. Government bribery. Public manipulation. And in the center of it all, Riley, smiling. Let her keep smiling. The burner phone sat on the table like a loaded gun. Lucas wore latex gloves, using the tip of a pen to scroll through the texts. He'd found it in Riley's yoga bag, tucked behind a half-empty bottle of mineral water. She was getting sloppy. He sat in Marla's apartment again, the place dark except for the blue glow of her monitors. On the screen, a list of contacts, numbers, short codes, initials. One thread stood out. JP, delivery confirmed. Funds will hit through AgriTrust as agreed. RM, keep your mouth shut and do your job. The vet doesn't matter. Marla read the text aloud. She called you the vet. Still underestimating you. Lucas's jaw clenched. That's the mistake I'm counting on. Another message popped up, timestamped from 2 nights ago. JP, Ridge site is clear. We'll demo the back wall before council visit. Marla looked over. Ridge site, that's protected land. They're faking environmental clearance? Lucas nodded slowly. That alone could bury them. She leaned back. We go public with this? No, not yet. We leak it to a rival developer anonymously. Let the sharks smell blood. Marla grinned. You're weaponizing the market against them. Lucas pulled out a photo from the folder, a smiling Riley at a groundbreaking event, her hand on a shovel, city leaders clapping behind her. She's not just complicit, he said. She's the face of it. When this falls apart, she won't just lose her job. She'll be radioactive. The phone vibrated. New message. BH, we move fast. Lucas is no threat. I want this finished. Lucas stared at it, letting the words settle. No threat? He whispered. He turned off the phone. Let's remind them what a threat looks like. The room was silent, except for the sound of Lucas typing. The click-clack of keys echoed like gunfire in a war room. He wasn't at the clinic tonight. He was back in the cabin, his late father's old hideout in the woods. No one knew about this place. No signals. No noise. Just space to think. On the wall was a timeline, printed emails, redacted bank files, blurry photos. Lines of yarn stretched between names. Riley. Brent. Gregory Phelps. AgriTrust. The pattern was emerging. Jax's voice crackled through the encrypted satellite call. Man, you're putting together a damn FBI case board here. I'm not stopping until it's airtight. You're not just hitting them with revenge, Jax said. You're rewriting the ending. Lucas stared at a pinned photo of Riley smiling in a press release. I'm rewriting the whole story. He stepped outside, cool air brushing against his skin. The moon was full, and the trees whispered like ghosts. For a moment, Lucas just listened. I used to think revenge meant anger, he said quietly. But it's not. It's patience, silence, precision. His phone buzzed, an alert from Marla. The footage had gone live. A 10-second clip anonymously leaked to a real estate blog. Brent shaking hands with Gregory Phelps. Envelopes exchanged in a backroom meeting. Within minutes, the post had 800 shares. Within the hour, a council member issued a statement denying involvement. Lucas exhaled slowly. The cracks were forming. And now, hey, you watching this right now? Yeah, you. What city are you watching from? Seriously, drop it in the comments below. Let's see which states got the best taste in revenge stories. Phoenix, Houston, LA, Chicago. Who's out here writing this with us? Let's find out. The game's just getting started. Lucas wore the same watch Riley gifted him on their 3rd anniversary. He hadn't worn it since the day she took it off his wrist and said, "You don't need to look at the past to know where you're going." Tonight, he wore it for one reason, because she would notice. The steakhouse was upscale, glass walls and jazz in the background. Lucas had made the reservation under a different name. Riley showed up on time, in designer heels and that scarlet dress she always wore when she wanted something. "Lucas," she said with an awkward smile, settling across from him, "this is unexpected. You agreed to meet." "Well, you asked nicely." Her eyes danced. "And it's not like you're dangerous." He held back a smile. "Right. Just a vet." They ordered drinks. Small talk floated. She talked about moving on and healing. Lucas nodded like it mattered. Then she leaned in. "Look, if this is about money or closure," Lucas cut her off. "Tell me about Brent." She blinked. "Brent? What about him? You're engaged, right?" A pause. Her jaw tightened just a bit. "He's good to me," she said. "Stable. Ambitious. Everything you weren't." Lucas sipped his whiskey, slow and measured. "You sure you know what he does when you're not in the room?" She laughed. "I'm not stupid." "No. You're just not careful." The silence cracked the air. Riley's smile faltered. Lucas leaned closer. "You know, there's something poetic about being betrayed by the person who used to wake up beside you." She looked at him, something in her eyes, fear? Doubt? "You wanted me to disappear," he whispered. "You should have made sure I was gone." Riley stood abruptly, tossing her napkin. "I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm done." She left in heels clicking sharp. Lucas stayed. Game on. At 2:03 a.m., Lucas received an encrypted email. No sender. No subject. One attachment. A blurry photo. It was him, walking out of Marla's apartment. Zoomed. Dated. Time-stamped. Lucas sat back, the tension in his shoulders locked tight. Someone was watching him now. He picked up his burner and called Marla. "You alone?" he asked. "Always." "Why?" "We've been made." By morning, his phone had 6 more anonymous messages. No threats, just images. One outside his clinic. One outside the cabin. One of Jenna, his assistant, locking up after work. The message was clear. "We see you." Lucas went to the mirror. Checked for cameras. Checked for bugs. Everything was clean. He knew this tactic. Psychological intimidation. Push him into action. Force mistakes. He smiled. "Too late for that," he muttered. By noon, he had wiped all of his active trace signals. All devices rerouted through Jax's ghost network. He gave Jenna a paid week off. "You need rest," he said, and smiled when she hugged him, oblivious to the danger. Lucas wasn't rattled. He was focused. In fact, the messages helped, because whoever was sending them, they just confirmed he was close. Close enough that they needed to scare him. He uploaded a new file to his secure Dropbox, Phase 2, Psychological War. Under it, a quote, "They watch me because they know I see them." That night, he placed a photo of Riley and Brent, arms around each other, smiling at some charity ball on his wall of targets. Under it, he wrote in red, "Keep smiling." The office of Gregory Phelps smelled like cigar smoke and leather. Lucas waited quietly in the back of the zoning building's lobby, hat pulled low, jacket folded over his arm. He'd watched the man's movements for weeks, same lunch break, same driver, same route. Today, Lucas followed him. Not to hurt him, just to rattle the cage. He waited until Phelps stepped out, alone, then walked up behind him in the parking lot. "Nice tie," Lucas said casually. Phelps flinched, turned. Lucas smiled. "Do I know you?" Phelps asked, already reaching for his keys. "No, but I know you." Lucas tossed a USB drive onto the hood of Phelps' car. "Those are your emails. The ones you thought were deleted. Backroom deals. Land surveys. Offshore transfers." Phelps swallowed hard. "Who the hell are you?" Lucas stepped closer. "Someone who hasn't even begun yet." Phelps opened his mouth, but Lucas was already walking away. Back in the cabin that night, Marla called. "You poked the bear. We've got movement. Riley just transferred $200,000 out of a holding company. She's trying to vanish. Should I intercept it?" "No," Lucas said. "Let it go through. The bigger the mess, the easier it is to unravel." He sat back, watching the board. "Every time they move," he said softly, "they dig deeper." That night, he added new names to the board: bankers, lawyers, silent partners. He was building a web, and every strand now connected. The game had officially expanded. But Lucas? He was just getting started. Lucas arrived at the cafe 5 minutes early. He didn't sit, just watched from across the street. Brent's messenger showed up exactly on time, slim build, gray coat, aviator glasses that screamed corporate puppet. He scanned the crowd, then spotted Lucas. No handshake, no smile. "You alone?" the man asked. Lucas nodded once. The man slid a white envelope across the table. "From Mr. Halvorson. A peace offering." Lucas opened it. 10 cashier's checks, each for $10,000. "All clean, all untraceable." "Walk away," the man said. "No strings. No noise." Lucas looked at the money, then at the man. "Tell Brent he just made 2 mistakes." The man raised an eyebrow. "First, assuming I care about money. Second, letting me know he's scared." Lucas stood up, left the envelope on the table, and walked out. Back at the cabin, he burned the checks one by one over the sink. The flames danced in his eyes. "Panic makes people sloppy," he muttered. Marla called 2 hours later. "They're moving fast. I've got transaction spikes across 4 shell companies. They think they're hiding the exits," Lucas said. "Should we intercept any of it?" "Not yet. I want them to think they still have time." Marla paused. "You're pushing them into making a mistake." "No," Lucas replied. "I'm forcing them to show the whole playbook." Outside, the woods were silent, calm. Inside, Lucas's mind was a storm. They offered a payout. That means the fear's real now. He was no longer just an inconvenience. He was a threat. "Good." Jax's voice came through Lucas's earpiece like static on a stormy night. "We've got a breach. One of my clean servers got flagged." Lucas stood still in the clinic's supply room, motionless among shelves of syringes and sedatives. "From where?" he asked. "Unknown. But whoever it was, they were tracing file paths. Not looking to crash, looking to follow." Lucas pulled off his gloves, his tone ice calm. "So now they know there's more than rumors." Jax exhaled. "Someone's hunting you back." Lucas was already moving, grabbing an encrypted flash drive, and heading to the alley behind the clinic. He slid into his car and drove through the backroads to an old storage unit registered under a different identity. Inside, backups, notes, real documents, originals. He tucked them in a steel case and reset the unit's lock to a new code. Just in time. That night, someone broke into the clinic. Jenna called at sunrise, panicked. The front window was smashed. Someone was looking for something, but nothing's missing. Lucas's voice was low, steady. "Don't come in today. Take another week." He walked the shattered site in silence. No fingerprints. No cameras. Professional job. And that told him one thing. Brent had hired a cleaner. Later, Marla confirmed it. "I traced the breach to a proxy linked to a guy named Marco Sense. Former Intel, black market contractor." Lucas knew the name. "Marco doesn't leave fingerprints," he said. "Then what do we do?" she asked. Lucas stared at the broken glass. "We don't hide. We lure." "Lure who?" "All of them." He picked up a shard of glass and looked into it, his reflection fractured. "They want to hunt me? Good. I've already set the traps." Rain pounded the cabin roof like war drums. Lucas sat in the center of the room, floor scattered with documents and maps. The light flickered. Power was unstable tonight, perfect for what he was about to do. He activated a sequence on the burner phone. It sent out 5 pre-written emails, each with attachments. Whistleblower reports. Blackmail chains. Video leaks. Recipients. Anonymous blogs, independent watchdogs, rival developers, and 1 federal prosecutor. All unsigned. All pointing to Brent Halvorsen and Riley Merritt. Then, with a calm breath, Lucas did something bold. He vanished. Not literally, but to the world, Lucas Merritt no longer existed. Bank accounts drained. Social media deleted. His personal records were scrubbed from all public databases. Marla handled the heavy lifting. Within hours, a whisper spread, Lucas Merritt went off-grid. 2 days later, a body was found in a river 2 counties over. Burned beyond recognition. Clothes similar to Lucas's. Wallet ID intact. By evening, the news ran the headline, "Local veterinarian and war vet presumed dead in river accident." Riley saw it, and she cried on camera. "I'm devastated," she told a local reporter. "We had differences, but I never wanted this." Lucas watched it from a motel room hundreds of miles away, hood up, unseen. He didn't blink. Marla's voice came through his earpiece. "They bought it. Hook, line, and camera crew." Lucas smiled faintly. "Good," he said. "Let them dance on my grave." Because now he had all the freedom in the world to burn theirs down. In a forgotten corner of a rural county courthouse, a low-level clerk opened an email flagged as urgent. The sender? Anonymous. The content? A 97-page PDF titled Halvorsen Holdings Internal Assessment, Confidential. 2 hours later, the file was already on 3 secure government servers, quietly passed between attorneys, investigators, and journalists. Lucas watched the spread from a burner laptop inside a storage unit in northern Arizona. The entire world thought he was dead. But his ghost? It was working overtime. He took a sip of cold coffee, eyes locked on the digital map showing network pings lighting up. "They've seen the file," Marla confirmed on the secure call, "including someone at the Attorney General's office." "Good," Lucas replied. That was just the appetizer. The file exposed shell companies, false environmental reports, and private contractors paid to falsify land surveys. Names were named, and every piece of it tied back to Riley's digital signature. "Brent's camp is scrambling," Marla added. "They just hired a new crisis PR firm out of D.C. Lucas cracked a faint smile. "They think this is PR damage? They're still playing defense." He clicked a key and opened another encrypted folder labeled Stage 2, Implosion. It held hours of audio, wire transfers, and video enough to detonate their empire from the inside. Lucas looked up at the mirror. His beard had grown. His eyes were darker. The man who once loved Riley Merritt no longer existed. The one left? He wasn't here to win her back. He was here to destroy everything she helped build. Lucas pulled into a dusty diner off a highway that hadn't seen real traffic in a decade. Inside, an old jukebox played low jazz, and a man in a military-style jacket sat in the corner booth. Agent Greer. They hadn't seen each other in years. Greer looked up, smirked. "I thought you were dead." Lucas slid into the booth. "I was. Just not long enough." "You're running a hell of a rogue op here," Greer muttered, glancing out the window. "You really want to push this all the way?" Lucas didn't blink. "I want the whole thing exposed. Corruption, murder, bribes, false foundations. I'm not just going after the cheaters anymore." Greer tapped his fingers. "You're sitting on nuclear-grade intel. I can't protect you if this blows open." "I don't need protection," Lucas said. "I need access." Greer raised an eyebrow. "You want a leak point?" "I want a drop location. High level. Visible. Somewhere that gets picked up live." Greer hesitated. "You really want to humiliate them in real time." "I want them to feel it," Lucas said. "Everything they buried. I want it dug up in front of an audience." Greer leaned back. "There's a gala next week. Political, media, big names. Brent's on the guest list." Lucas nodded. "Send me the guest list, entry routes, and press contacts. You're going to walk into a room full of snakes." Lucas smirked. "Good. I used to train people how to cut them down." As he stood to leave, Greer said quietly, "Just make sure when the explosion hits, you're not still inside the building." Lucas walked out without answering. He'd already made peace with fire. Lucas sat on a park bench outside a government building. Wind rustled leaves, kids played in the distance, but his eyes were fixed on one person, a woman clutching the hand of a 7-year-old girl. The woman's name was Ava, widow. Her husband had invested everything into one of Brent's fake development ventures. When it collapsed, he was blamed, humiliated, and ultimately dead by suicide. Lucas met Ava through a local victim support group. She didn't know who he was. Not really. But she knew someone was sending her money each month. Anonymous. Just enough to survive. He watched as Ava sat on a bench, the child beside her. The girl laughed, chasing pigeons across the grass. Lucas opened his notebook and drew a line beneath Brent's name. He added a new heading, collateral damage. Riley's affair had ignited this. Brent's greed had amplified it. But the fallout, the families ruined, the lives lost, was what Lucas cared about now. He stood up and approached slowly. "Hi," he said gently. Ava looked up, cautious. "I knew your husband," Lucas said. A long silence. "He trusted the wrong people," she said. "We all did. I'm sorry for what you went through." She nodded. Most people forgot. Moved on. Lucas didn't. He handed her a white envelope. "It's not charity. It's justice. And it's only the beginning." She looked inside. A check. Large. Real. "Why are you doing this?" Lucas met her eyes. "Because people like Brent and Riley think they can hurt others and walk away clean." He glanced at the girl, smiling without a care in the world. They're about to find out that some ghosts don't stay buried. In a hotel room lit only by a desk lamp, Lucas sat with Marla and Jax, poring over newly leaked tax returns and internal memos. Jax whistled. "You weren't kidding. These guys weren't just dirty. They were running a full-blown syndicate." Lucas flipped through a folder. Brent paid off 3 zoning board members, ran a fake green initiative through a charity in Riley's name, and skimmed over $1.2 million in construction kickbacks. "Where's the money now?" Marla asked. "Half in crypto wallets, half funneled through offshore fronts. But here's the kicker. Some of it's tied to campaign donations. Political ones." Marla's face turned serious. "You realize what this means?" "Yeah," Lucas said. "It's not just about taking down 2 people. This is about cutting off an entire corrupt network." He tapped the file. "This paper trail connects them all. Every single person who signed off, looked the other way, took a slice." Jax pulled out his laptop. "So when do we drop the bomb?" Lucas smiled faintly. "We wait." "For what?" Marla asked. "For the night they think they've won." He closed the file, stood, and walked to the window. Outside, neon lights flickered. Somewhere out there, Brent and Riley were probably sipping wine, celebrating their latest success. Lucas watched the night like a hunter watches prey in tall grass. "They built a throne from lies," he said. "Let's watch them fall off it, on live TV." Rain streaked the courthouse windows as Riley stepped into the building, her heels echoing off the marble floor. She was calm, poised, PR ready. Brent walked beside her, confident as ever, flanked by 2 attorneys and a press handler. This wasn't a trial, just a routine zoning hearing. Or so they thought. Inside, the chamber was packed. Reporters, cameras, quiet murmurs of scandal already buzzing. Brent looked around, smiling, shaking hands. Riley stayed back, scanning the crowd. She didn't know Lucas was there, watching from the upper gallery, in a black cap and coat. Hidden. Invisible. The clerk announced the case. Halvorsen Holdings versus City Planning Committee, hearing on land rights and public interest objection. Brent's lawyer began smoothly, citing property law and environmental compliance. Routine. Clean. Then came the surprise. A new objection was filed moments before the hearing. It came from a third-party entity, Citizens for Urban Integrity, an anonymous watchdog group. Inside the file, documents exposing fake environmental reports. Names. Signatures. Emails. Riley paled as the evidence appeared on screen. Lucas watched her face freeze. She leaned to Brent. Whispered. Panicked. Brent kept smiling, but his jaw twitched. The judge paused. "I need time to review this. We'll reconvene in 72 hours. Camera flashes went wild. The news was out. Lucas stood up quietly and left the courtroom before anyone noticed. Phase 3 had begun. Brent stormed into his penthouse, slamming the door behind him. Riley followed close, her voice sharp. "Where the hell did that file come from?" Brent tossed his briefcase. I don't know. It had to be a leak. Internal. You think it's him? Lucas. Brent hesitated. Just for a second. That man's dead. Riley grabbed her tablet and opened her email. Then why did I just get this? She showed him. An image. Lucas. Not old. Not photoshopped. Current. Taken outside a diner just 2 nights ago. Brent's face drained of color. This is a game, he said slowly. He's playing us. He wants us to panic. Riley backed away. Well, it's working. Brent turned toward the window, breathing heavy. Downtown Phoenix looked quiet, like nothing was coming. We need to hit back, Brent said. Before this spirals. Hit back how? Riley snapped. Brent turned to her, calmer now. Too calm. We leak something. Something that ruins his name completely. Riley hesitated. Or we find someone who can shut this down. That night, Brent made a call. To someone from his past. Dangerous. Capable. Lucas had lit the fuse. Brent was preparing to burn the whole city to keep his empire standing. The studio lights were hot. Lucas stood behind the black curtain, adjusting his collar. A makeup assistant asked if he was ready. He gave her a slight nod. Let's go. It was a live segment on State Watch, a late-night news program known for breaking political corruption cases. Lucas wasn't appearing as himself. He was using a secure alias, digitally disguised, voice altered. But the evidence? Real. Emails. Contracts. Voice recordings. The screen lit up with visuals as the host spoke. We have obtained exclusive, verified documents linking Halvorsen Holdings to public corruption, money laundering, and fraudulent land seizures across 3 counties. Riley and Brent were home, watching. Frozen. Lucas, live on screen, told the story from the inside. I was a contractor on the site. I saw them forging numbers, bribing officials, burying the real impact on communities. They're not just greedy, they're dangerous. Riley's hand trembled as she reached for the remote. Brent ripped it from her. They can't prove it's him, he growled. They have no name. But it is him, Riley whispered. Brent paced the room. How the hell is he still alive? On screen, the host said one final line before the segment cut. According to anonymous sources, one of the company's executives may have falsified documents to hide their spouse's involvement. Riley gasped. Lucas had laid the trap. Now the world was watching. Brent sat in a conference room with 2 of his lawyers. His phone buzzed. Over and over. Incoming texts. Calls. News pings. He stared at the screen. DOJ launches preliminary investigation into Halvorsen Holdings. Across the city, Riley sat in her car, gripping the wheel. Her inbox was flooded. Her name trending on Twitter for all the wrong reasons. Marla, in a safe house across state lines, was watching it all unfold. We're live, she told Lucas through the headset. He sat in silence, watching the dominoes fall. Councilman Phelps just deactivated all his socials, Marla added. Another one just resigned. Brent's fixer called him. We're in crisis. This is big. You've got to disappear for a while. No, Brent said. Not yet. He looked at Riley, who had just arrived, eyes wide. You did this, she said. Brent stepped forward. No, he did this. And he's still alive. Riley swallowed. We need to run. But it was already too late. Across town, the first federal subpoena was issued. City council phones were seized. And the press? They wanted blood. Lucas stood at a window, eyes fixed on the skyline. They danced in the light too long. No? He was pulling the sun down with them. The funeral was held on a gray morning, sky thick with clouds like a smothered screen. Lucas stood in the distance, dressed in black, a hat pulled low. Rain soaked the dirt path beneath his boots as the priest murmured prayers over a closed casket. The headstone read, Lucas Merritt, beloved husband, fierce protector, gone too soon. Riley stood at the front, arm hooked around Brent's. Her mascara was perfect. Not a single tear smudged. But her hands? Trembled. Brent held her close, whispering something that made her nod stiffly. They'd done it. Played the grieving widow and supportive fiancé like pros. Behind them, cameras clicked. Reporters whispered. Lucas's death had become a trending story. Veteran dies in tragic accident after business collapse. The coffin was lowered into the ground. A military honor guard fired blank rounds into the sky. Bugles sang a farewell. But no one knew the body inside wasn't Lucas. It was an unclaimed drifter, matched in height, wearing Lucas's old jacket and dog tags. Lucas watched as Riley placed a single white rose on the casket. She leaned down, whispered something only he could read from her lips. "Forgive me." Lucas didn't blink. Forgive? She had lied, cheated, stolen, and buried him in front of the world. She wanted closure. But he had one question: forgiveness for what? If she thought he was already dead? As the crowd began to disperse, Brent glanced over his shoulder. For half a second, their eyes met. Lucas didn't move. Brent's expression shifted, just slightly. A flicker of doubt. It was enough. The dead man had just whispered back. Lucas watched from a distance as Riley entered the First Phoenix Bank branch with a sharp blazer and a controlled smile. Inside, a clerk guided her to a private room. She signed a few documents and nodded politely as the woman slid a sleek folder across the table. Lucas had forged the entire trail, an old will, doctored by a lawyer on his side. It transferred a life insurance payout of $500,000 to Riley, triggered upon his death. He needed her to take it, because the moment she moved it, the IRS system would flag it. Sure enough, within 24 hours, Marla called. She moved it offshore, she said. Fake name. Wire transfer to the Caymans. Let it go, Lucas replied. You sure? She just stepped into the net. By the next day, Riley was glowing in public. New car. New clothes. She hosted a private dinner with Brent and some investors at their rooftop condo. Lucas left everything to me, she said casually, lifting a glass of wine. Even in death, he still couldn't cut me off. The room laughed. Outside, from a neighboring rooftop, Lucas aimed a directional mic at the balcony. You think it's done? Brent asked. Riley leaned into him. I buried him, babe. That chapter's over. Lucas smiled through the headset. That chapter? No. He was just now turning the page. At 3:14 a.m., Brent made a call. Lucas recorded it. The voice was low, urgent. Move the Cayman funds through the Centro Group, under the Zurich arm. Keep Riley's name off it. Lucas forwarded the audio to Marla. That's wire fraud, laundering, and conspiracy in under 30 seconds, she said. Do we release it? No. We let it build. Over the next week, Lucas leaked smaller items. Memos. Travel records. Board minutes. Enough to shake them, not enough to make them run. Meanwhile, Brent started asking questions in his circles. Who's leaking this? No one had answers. He checked Riley's devices. Hard digital cleaners. Nothing turned up. At the same time, Lucas had Jack's mimic access breaches, bouncing IPs off 3 countries. Red herrings. Paranoia set in. Riley woke up one night to find Brent sitting in the dark, staring at his phone. Is this about the money? She asked. It's about someone still playing a game I thought we already won. She sat beside him. Lucas is gone. Brent looked at her. Are you sure? That silence? It shattered everything. Because deep down, they both knew he wasn't the kind of man who disappeared quietly. Lucas stared at a corkboard inside the safe house. Photos, documents, names. Red yarn stretched like veins. One corner was circled 3 times, mayoral gala. Guest list confirmed. Greer had delivered. Over 300 guests. Politicians. CEOs. Media. Brent and Riley were co-hosting it. That night would be the kill shot. Marla, Lucas said, tapping the plan with his knuckle. How secure is the audio drop? Triple layered. Goes live at exactly 8:15 p.m. audio, slideshow, full timeline. It'll hit press outlets, newsrooms, and live streams. Lucas nodded. Jax, infiltrated the venue system. I'll trigger the AV switch when you say go. Lucas turned back to the board. He had one last thing to handle, the invitation. A sealed black envelope was hand-delivered to Brent's condo. Inside, one photo. Lucas standing at Riley's fake grave. And a single line written in blood-red ink. See you at the gala. I truly hope you've hit that subscribe button by now. Your support means everything to me. The photo hit Brent harder than a lawsuit ever could. He stared at it, Lucas standing beside his own grave. Alive, staring directly into the lens. Riley sat on the edge of the couch, silent. Is it real? She finally asked. Brent didn't answer. He couldn't. A knock on the door broke the silence. A delivery man handed them a single black box, no return address. Brent opened it cautiously. Inside, a velvet-lined case, holding 2 engraved invitation cards. You're cordially invited to the unveiling of your legacy. Dress code, black. Time, 8 p.m. sharp. Place, Phoenix Grand Civic Hall. On the back, a line scrawled in red ink. History will remember this night. So will you. Riley stood, shaking now. It's him. Lucas. He's not just alive. He's coming for us. Brent paced the room, gripping the invitation like it might explode. No more games, he said. We hire everyone. Private security. IT lockdown. We control the room, the guests, everything. And what if he shows up? Riley whispered. Brent turned to her, voice low, furious. Then we finish what we should have done the first time. Phoenix Civic Hall was built to impress: grand columns, a skylit ballroom, chandeliers that cost more than most homes. Brent made sure the lighting was perfect, the music low, the food high-end. Guests arrived in black tie. Media circled outside. Inside, the tension buzzed like static. Riley smiled for the cameras, but her hand trembled slightly on her wine glass. Brent's security team was in place, discreet but armed. Facial scanners watched every entry point. Marla's voice came through Lucas's earpiece. Systems live. Jax is in their AV booth. We're synced on your go. Lucas moved through the crowd like a ghost. Clean cut now. Fresh shave. Tailored black suit. He blended in, unrecognizable the most. A waiter passed him a glass. He declined. He stood beneath a marble statue, watching Brent work the room. Fake laughs. Firm handshakes. Hollow charisma. Across the floor, Riley posed with donors, giving a speech about growth, community, and starting over. Lucas smiled to himself. They had no idea. Not yet. Not until the clock struck 8:15. At exactly 8:15 p.m., the ballroom lights dimmed unexpectedly. Guests paused mid-conversation. Confused glances passed around the room. Brent stepped forward, ready to demand answers, but the projector screen behind him flickered on. At first, it showed only static. Then, a video. Black and white. Security footage. Brent exchanging envelopes with Gregory Phelps. Audio overlay. Just keep the land approvals coming. We'll handle the rest. Gasps. Shuffling feet. Then came still images. Riley's name on documents. Signatures. Dates. Bank transfers. Marla's voice in Lucas's ear. We're fully live. It's hitting the feeds now. On every guest's phone, a notification buzzed. Breaking. Halvorsen Empire exposed. Leaked footage ties firm TO fraud. Cover UPS. Brent turned slowly. His face drained of all color. Riley stared at the screen, unable to breathe. Lucas stepped forward through the crowd, no longer hiding. Eyes locked on Riley. This wasn't a threat. It was the verdict. Brent lunged forward, screaming to kill the feed. But the AV team? Gone. Jax had slipped out 2 minutes before the show started. Riley tried to follow Brent, but reporters were already pushing through the crowd. Ms. Merritt, is it true you signed off on false land permits? Did you know about the missing donations? Did your husband fake his death to expose you? Brent ran toward the back hallway, but federal agents met him there, badges out, calm and practiced. You're under investigation. Come with us. No lawyers. Brent barked. One agent smirked. You'll get one, after processing. Riley stumbled back, heels clicking wildly. Her dress now clung like a costume on a broken actress. Then she saw him. Lucas. Across the room. Still. Cold. Alive. Why? She whispered. He stepped close enough for only her to hear. You buried me, and cashed the check. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't want it to go this far. Lucas tilted his head. Neither did I. But you made the choice. I just made sure it had consequences. And then, like a ghost reclaiming peace, he turned, walked away, and left her standing alone beneath the shattered spotlight. The next morning, headlines screamed louder than sirens. Halvorsen Empire crumbles overnight. CEO, city officials under investigation. Lucas Merritt, presumed dead, now exposed as whistleblower, wife, widow, or architect of fraud? Riley's face was everywhere. Her mugshot, taken hours after the gala, was splashed across TV screens and phones like wildfire. Her bail was denied. Flight risk. Brent? Still locked in a federal holding cell. His lawyers couldn't even reach him. Every account frozen. Every investor gone. Lucas stood at a hilltop hours away, watching the sunrise, phone buzzing with notifications he'd never answer. Marla's voice broke the silence through his earpiece. Riley broke in the interview. Tried to blame everything on Brent. Lucas exhaled slowly. Of course she did. But the feds already have a paper trail with her name on it. She's cooked. Lucas nodded. And Brent? They're throwing the book at him. RICO charges, fraud, conspiracy. If he cooperates, maybe 15 years. Lucas watched the horizon. Let him rot. Quiet. Broke. Forgotten. And that was the worst punishment for men like Brent Halvorson irrelevance. Inside a cell with flickering lights and peeling paint, Brent sat with his back against the wall. His once immaculate suit was wrinkled, his hair disheveled. A public defender slid a folder toward him. Prosecutors have enough to take you down twice over, the attorney said. Your only shot is to flip. Everyone you paid, every deal you made. You testify, you might see sunlight before 60. Brent didn't answer. The folder stayed closed. He had spent years building an empire. Now, it was dust. Names that once begged him for meetings no longer returned calls. His company website had been stripped, his staff vanished. Across town, Riley sat in a holding cell of her own, hands gripping her knees. A woman across from her laughed. You the CEO, chick? Damn. You had it all. What did you do, kill a man? Riley looked up, hollow-eyed. No. I buried one. The woman raised a brow. You sure he stayed buried? Riley didn't respond. Because now, every time she closed her eyes, she saw Lucas. Not the broken husband. Not the vet. The hunter she'd underestimated. And now? He was everywhere. A week later, State Watch aired a follow-up exclusive. This time, Lucas wasn't hidden behind a voice modulator or camera blur. He stood in frame, clean-cut, calm, eyes locked on the lens. My name is Lucas Merritt, he said. And I was never just a vet. He recounted the story, not as a victim, but as a man who had once chosen silence, until betrayal forced him to speak. They stole from people who trusted them, lied to families, crushed futures, all while smiling. Footage played of Ava and her daughter, the widow helped by Lucas. Then victims of failed land projects, elderly couples, small business owners. Lucas continued, revenge isn't what this was about. This was about accountability. When asked what he'd do next, he said only, live. Quietly. And hope they remember this before crossing the next person who looks weak. The broadcast ended with a final image. Riley, in court, facing sentencing. Her eyes were red, her future sealed. The public's response? Overwhelming support. The ghost had stepped into the light and earned applause for every shadow he walked through. The clinic was quiet again. Lucas had reopened it quietly. No press, no headlines. Just animals. Just healing. Jenna returned, surprised but relieved to see him alive. You look older, she said. I feel older. She didn't ask questions. Just hugged him. He didn't stop her. One afternoon, Marla showed up unannounced. Thought I'd find you in a cabin, not playing with dogs. Lucas smiled. Turns out animals don't betray you. She sat, handed him an envelope. Inside, a letter. From Ava. Thank you. For giving us back our dignity. And reminding my daughter that some men still fight for what's right. Lucas read it twice, eyes misting just slightly. But he said nothing. Marla placed a hand on his shoulder. You burned it all down. Only what needed burning, he replied. A silence passed between them, peaceful, not heavy. Then Lucas whispered, now I can rebuild. And for the first time in years, he actually meant it. Lucas stood at the back of his clinic, trimming a dog's bandage while soft jazz hummed from a dusty speaker in the corner. No alarms. No secret files. No chase. Just quiet. For the first time in years. He tossed the bloody gauze into a bin and washed his hands slowly, watching the water turn pink, swirl, and vanish down the drain. It had been 2 weeks since the final court date. Riley had been sentenced to 7 years without parole. Brent got 23, with a plea deal still pending. Lucas hadn't attended either trial. He didn't need to. The world had seen. The system had answered. He'd done what he came to do. But silence. It had weight. He stepped outside, leaned against the clinic wall, watching the sun dip behind distant mountains. Marla had offered him a job with an investigative unit. Said his skills were wasted on dog stitches. But Lucas had smiled, gently. I've had enough of being useful to everyone else. He wasn't chasing ghosts anymore. Just peace. The envelope had no return address. It arrived mid-morning, slipped between vet supply invoices and junk mail. Thick paper, handwritten. Lucas stared at it for a long moment before opening it. Lucas, you were never the villain. I was. I see that now. I don't expect forgiveness. But I needed you to know I finally understand. You were the strongest person I ever knew, and I ruined that. I hope you find peace. Riley, he read it once. Then again. Then folded it in half and placed it in a drawer. Not to destroy. Not to display. Just to keep. Because even a monster's confession mattered when the story was finally over. He closed the drawer gently. No anger. No triumph. Just stillness. Even though it was over, Lucas still ran in the mornings. Not from something. Just to feel breath. To stay grounded. This morning, the sky was steel gray. Sharp air. Desert wind biting his skin as he jogged the ridge trail near his cabin. Halfway through, he stopped, heart pounding, lungs burning. For a second, the past crept in. A memory. Footsteps behind him. Gun in hand. Shadow at his back. But there was no threat now. Just memory trying to catch up. He stared across the valley, the same path where he'd once watched Riley and Brent break ground on their stolen empire. Now, all of it was seized, razed, reclaimed. The city had announced plans to turn it into a public wildlife preserve fitting. Return something fake back to something real. He smiled faintly and turned back toward the trail, wind rushing past his ears. No one was chasing him anymore. That feeling? Unfamiliar, but welcome. Brent sat in a metal chair, hands cuffed, inside a concrete interrogation room in federal lockup. His hair was longer now, gray strands showing. The sharp lines in his face had dulled into something heavier. Something broken. An agent across from him slid a document forward. You still have names. If you cooperate, it can reduce your time. Brent didn't touch the paper. What's the point? He muttered. The agent leaned back. You were the king. Now you're just another lesson. Outside the window, rain tapped against the glass like slow applause. In another wing of the prison, a TV played quietly. Lucas Merritt's face flashed briefly on a documentary about whistleblowers. The voiceover called him the man who faked his death to take down a corrupt empire. Brent turned away. The ruin wasn't the prison. It was knowing that a man he'd buried had buried him instead. And no one would ever forget it. The wind whispered through the pine trees like a song only the broken understood. Lucas sat on the porch of his rebuilt cabin. Fresh wood, new beams, no memories nailed into its walls yet. Just quiet. His hands were calloused from the work. He'd rebuilt it himself. No contractors. No crews. Just time, sweat, and silence. The kind of labor that didn't require bloodshed to be satisfying. A dog, Milo, a rescue from the clinic, slept by his feet. Breathing slow. Safe. Lucas took a sip of coffee, staring into the forest. A place that once hid his secrets now held his peace. Inside the cabin, a single drawer held every piece of the war he fought. Photos, files, the letter from Riley. But he hadn't opened it in days. He didn't need to anymore. The past didn't own him. A jeep pulled up in the distance. Familiar tires crunching gravel. Marla. She stepped out with 2 coffees and a tired smile. You're hard to find when you don't want to be found. Lucas chuckled. That's the point. She handed him the cup. They're talking about giving you a medal. Civil hero stuff. Don't need it, he said. They want your story. They already got it. Marla paused. So this is it? The end. Lucas looked out over the trees. No, he said. This is the first thing that's mine. 2 months passed. The city had changed. The headlines moved on. But the damage Lucas exposed reshaped everything. 3 council members indicted. Multiple resignations. Federal grants redirected to actual recovery programs. The stolen land now fully under protection status. And one new initiative, quietly launched, the Merit Fund, a financial resource to support whistleblowers, victims of financial fraud, and small communities caught in corporate abuse. Lucas didn't name it. Marla did. It's yours, she told him, one evening over a quiet dinner. The people you helped need to know someone like you existed. Lucas had stared at the foundation paperwork for a long time, then signed it without a word. He didn't want credit, but he understood the value of proof. Proof that not every man walks away. Some fight back, and some win. Ava and her daughter were the first recipients. New housing, school funding, therapy, all covered. Lucas didn't attend the press event. But he watched from the hill above, hat pulled low, Milo sitting beside him. He didn't need applause. He just needed to know it mattered. And it did. It was a Tuesday when it happened. Riley's mother showed up at the clinic. Alone. Nervous. Older now, with tired eyes and a purse clutched tight to her chest. Lucas looked up from the front desk, pausing mid-sentence with Jenna. "Give us a minute," he told her quietly. They stepped outside. The wind was sharp today. "I didn't come here to defend her," the woman said softly. Lucas nodded. "I came because I saw what you did. What she cost you. What she almost became." There was silence. "She wasn't always that way," she added. "But somewhere along the road, she lost the version of herself you loved." Lucas didn't speak. His jaw was tight, but his eyes weren't angry. "I know it's not my place," she continued, voice shaking, "but thank you for not becoming like them." Lucas finally looked at her. "I almost did, but you didn't," she said. "And that's what saved everything." She handed him a small envelope. Inside, an old photo. Lucas and Riley on their wedding day. "Before it all, I thought you might still want to remember the part that was real." She turned and walked away. Lucas stared at the photo for a long while, then tucked it in his coat pocket. Not because he missed her, but because closure sometimes comes from facing the truth you survived. Lucas ran his hands over the edge of the wooden fence, freshly painted and smooth under his fingers. The clinic had grown. 2 new rooms. More rescues. More people coming in, not just for their pets, but to say thank you. Jenna now ran most of the front desk. Milo greeted everyone like an old soul in a dog's body. And Lucas? He was still quiet, still calm, but lighter now. You could see it in his walk, in his voice. He wasn't carrying it anymore. The revenge, the weight, the pain. He'd laid it all down the day Riley was sentenced and never picked it back up. One afternoon, he found a handwritten card taped to the clinic door. "You showed us the truth. You reminded us that not all quiet men are weak. Thank you. Signed only, a friend you never met." Lucas folded it and placed it beside the photo Riley's mother gave him. Not to remember her, but to remember who he became in spite of her. Later that night, as he walked through the woods by his cabin, stars overhead and wind quiet in the trees, he whispered, "This time, I built something no one can take from me." Marla showed up one last time. No laptop, no hard drive, just a bottle of red wine and 2 glasses. "You've gone full small town," she joked, stepping onto the porch. Lucas smirked. "Just needed to find where I belonged." They sat for hours, not talking about the past. Just music. Books. Jax had disappeared into a freelance security firm. The Merit Fund had tripled its impact. And Ava? Her daughter was starting school in a private program. "I was thinking," Marla said, "you ever get bored of saving animals? There's a world out there that could still use someone like you." Lucas leaned back, eyes on the sky. "I'm exactly where I need to be." A pause. "But maybe one day." They toasted under starlight. 2 warriors who'd survived the war and still remembered who they were before it began. Marla left before sunrise. Lucas watched her taillights disappear into the dark. And for the first time, he felt no fear in letting people in. The final chapter. The last word. Lucas opened the old steel vault buried beneath the floorboards of his cabin. Inside, a single file, labeled in bold red ink, in case they ever forget. It held every truth, every document, every recording. A history of what happened, not to relive it, but to preserve it. Because stories like his get twisted, or worse, forgotten. He resealed the vault, stood, and looked around the space he'd built from ash. Then he picked up Milo's leash and headed outside. As they walked down the dirt path toward the clinic, a local boy passed by on his bike, grinning wide. "Hey, Mr. Lucas. You really used to be a spy." Lucas chuckled. "Something like that." The boy waved and rode off. Lucas kept walking, the world around him finally quiet, not because he silenced it, but because he no longer had to fight it. He'd won. Not with bullets, not with rage, but with truth, time, and patience. And now, he could live. Really live. And now to you, yeah, you still watching till the very end. Let me ask you this. Well, what would you have done in Lucas's place? Would you have walked away, or built the fire and watched the empire fall? And tell us this in the comments. Which city are you watching this from? Let's see how far this story traveled. If this journey moved you even a little, drop a like. Hit that subscribe, not because we told you to, but because stories like this deserve to live. We'll meet again in the next thriller. Another epic revenge story. Until then, take care of yourself. Stay sharp. And remember, not all quiet men are harmless. The end.